almost 18 years. And
started March 8th of '01.
so it'll be 18 in March. There's an amount of freedom to it, you know, that you don't have somebody standing over you and wanting it done.
I don't think we got a date where we started, did we?
January of 2000.
Okay.
January 27th of 2000.
Long time. When we started here, we had one guy that done all the dispatching, all the safety, everything that had to be done was through this man right here. And it was just you and them. And it was easy to work with. I mean, he just tell you what you need to do, you do your job, and it worked out. And I stay because of that. He's grown a lot. He's a big, but it's still family. It's still family. If I get mad, I can call him, I can holler and scream, and he listens and then tells me to shut up and go to work, and it's all over.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Dean's been with us since '04, March of '04. So he'd be coming up on, what's that, 15 years? But Dean and I go back till probably the late 60s, early 70s. I met him when he was probably 13, 14 years old, and he'd be going with his dad. They grew up in Pittsburgh, and Dean's a very good friend of one of my cousins, and that's how we met. Dean is probably one of the finest mechanical minds I've ever seen. His first truck he bought out of a junkyard, and he completely rebuilt it, and it had a 220. It was an old I think it was like a 1960 International Emeryville with a 220 in it, 10-speed, and he completely rebuilt this thing. And to this day, the guy's really a great mechanic. I think one of the funniest stories from Ronnie here is we moved some train locomotives from Lorain, Ohio to Durango. I think there's a silver mine here. It's like a museum. It's a narrow gauge track. These locomotives weighed like 120,000 pounds, and we had them on a 13 axle. I can't remember who else was out there, but I know Mikey Barnes was with you, and we had 2 loads going out there. They got up to the top of Wolf Creek Pass, and this is there's in songs and this and that. I know it's like 6-7 miles up. It's like a 6% grade. You're up at the top of the mountains and beautiful snow covered. The guys pulled over up to the top of this hill, and it's one heck of a pull. They were sitting up there just admiring the beauty and walking around, and Ronnie's truck quit running. It ran out of fuel. And God had to be watching us. If that would have happened on the way up, no telling what the record bill would have been to finish that.
We never got it going.
No, it was so steep. I don't know if we'd ever get. I mean, it would have been more money than any of us had at that time. But it was at that time I about had a heart attack when he called and told me that. But now we laugh about it. But it would have been a serious hiccup.
I never really thought about it. I just did my job.
Yeah, that's the problem with, we've been dedicated and devoted, and it's like, and when Gary says, hey, I need this done, or I need that done, and it was,
Get it done.
we get it done.
We started driving at a time when there wasn't the electronic, the phones and the CB radios and the texting and all this and that, and there was you paid attention to what you did, and you learned to drive defensively. Traffic, I don't know what traffic's up 30, 40, 50% in the last 30, 40 years, but congestion around the big cities and that. I think they learned to drive and move at areas maybe, at the nighttime when there's less traffic and things. They just think out their days better. You're not, they plan out when they get somewhere, they fuel up, they walk around, do post-trip inspection so they're ready to go the next day. A lot of the machinery we hauled, you had to double check everything. And double check the dimensions. Probably 95% of what they hauled was open deck, oversized. It was on a step deck, double drop, multi-axle trailers. There's a lot of weight involved, loads that weigh up to 150,000 pounds. Every time you stop, you got to walk around and check something, because all these trailers are air ride, so if an air valve goes bad, your height could change 2 or 3 inches. and it's just they wear out a lot of tape measures. I think on an average in our industry, on the low side, you'll do 80,000 miles a year, and on the high side, on the vans, which we didn't do a lot of back then, it'd be 110 to 120,000 miles. So I'm sure these guys got a lot more, you know, just from the safety side. The million miles is, I mean, both these guys probably got 1.2 to 1.4 million miles just during their time with us. So, and I'm sure they got more than that, but in the infancy of our company, we didn't really keep track of it that much. I mean, we just, really, we couldn't, and that's the other part of it. In the infancy stage, we wouldn't have kept the customers if we'd had any issues. You know, if we'd had a bad accident or a bad claim or something, when you're a small company, that customer's going to just say, oh, enough with you.
And we had a lot of pride. I think we had a lot of pride when we started. A lot of determination, a lot of pride.
And that was, I know with both of us, it was when you went to these customers, you went to them and you wanted them to call us again and all that. So we took care of them, and you know, we didn't leave trash around. We took care of their yard. We took care of their loads, their equipment.
You got the weather. You got, you know, cold weather like this, or it could be 110 in the shade, and you're out there. You know, the machinery's greasy, oily, you know, and
Slippery.
Yeah, slippery, and but it's got to be covered properly, and you know, you're not inside a temperature-controlled building. So, I mean, you know, these guys were here when we started, and they seen what it's like. And a lot of the newer guys, that's where, you know, you get a little frustrated. Well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. You know, well, it's part of the job, and so that's. I think the other great thing these guys do is they'll counsel some of the younger guys too, because I kind of lose my patience or something. You know, that's probably not the right words to use, but if you get Ron or Chuck or somebody that, come on, you guys, this is the way it has to be done. Let's get on with our team. Let's do it. Right.
Probably not.
No, probably not. That as big as I thought that we'd probably get 100, maybe 200 trucks, or he would, but I never thought we would get this big as he's getting. Never really thought too much about it. Too busy. You always get me gone.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't. We never had a strategic plan, or we never had budgets, or just, you know, we figured we'd outwork the other people.
Get rid of this load and get another one.
Yeah, and we did. We it's Gary's company, and you keep hearing me say we or me or my or whatever, but I feel as part of it. I don't have anything to do with it. It's all his, but I feel that I'm part of it. So I always say he, mine, or whatever.
They are part of it. They're like brothers. It's, you know, we're pretty good. They give me a hard time too. You know, words can't express that. You know, that kind of accomplishment. I mean, it's when you're out here, like if you're in an office building and go to work, you're in a confined area. When you leave the yard and you get out here on the highways, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, there's especially in the last 10 years with the cell phones and texting, and people are not paying attention to what they're doing. I mean, and it amazes me. You drive down an interstate and these rows of people will miss an exit. They just stop. You know, you just don't. There's another exit 5-10 miles down the road. Just keep going. You know, you can get down there and turn around, but they don't. You know, they panic. We're going to stop, and now we're up in, you know, north of the Mason-Dixon line. We have days like today where there's a little bit of mist and rain, and you're right at the freezing point. You know, people lose control of their vehicles, and it's mind-boggling to realize that you can travel 1 million miles and not have an incident. You know, I mean, it's something that's one hell of a milestone. Pops is my stepdad, raised us kids, and me and my two brothers. Grew up in Westville, Indiana there, but he has a trucking background, and then He retired from trucking when he was about 65, 66. And then I think in about 2000, how old would he have been then? He's would have been early 70s. He started escort. You know, we started getting these bigger trailers and that. And first started with wide loads and stretch loads, and then we went to the 9 and we went to the 13 axle loads. And in fact, he and my father-in-law Russell, first time we took our 13 axle trailers down into Mexico, they followed the Mexican trucks down there. And they have interesting stories about the one hotel they stopped at. The beds were only 18 inches off the, or 12 or 18 inches off the floor, and it was kind of funny. We left some jokes about that. But Pops, he retired a year and a half ago. He'll be 92 in January. He was escorting up until he's 90 years old. And he's coming over this afternoon, and he spent a lot of time with these guys. In fact, he was on the infamous trip to Colorado with very little fuel, but he was. Pops misses it. He didn't want to retire, but good Lord said it was about time to retire. But he's always calling me like every day, wondering what's going on. I'm talking to these guys. Chuck was off sick for a little bit. He's calling, wondering about him. But it's a very close-knit community.
Escorted us many miles. One thing about Pops is that you didn't have to worry about anybody getting in your way, did you? Because he would make sure.
He'd done his job.
He did. He was good at it.
They're good people. I've been too good.
Yeah, just so proud of being part of something like these guys, being around them and what they've done. And, the good thing too, they're not done yet. We'll get some work out of them. And they slowed up a little bit, but you just got to give an earlier start and they'll catch up. No, we have a good time.